Hi folks, welcome to The Way I Do It. I'm doing doors on the other end of my building. These are standard doors that meet in the middle. You can see behind me, I've got the rail up already. The door width is about 20 feet, so the rail has got to be 40 feet. Actually, I have a 10-foot section right here, and I'll get into that in a minute. Then I have a 12-footer, then another 12-footer, and I finish off with 6 feet on the end. So what I've done here is I have this cannonball style track that bolts in. I use that on the other end, but I couldn't locate the correct bracket for it. The other end took brackets that carry 2 tracks. This one only has 1. So what I did is I took this standard, this track is made for a cover, but it was made for a keyhole type track. So this had a rivet right in here, and then you would just slip the track on the bracket and then hang it as one assembly. So to make it work with the existing track that I had, I removed the rivets and I made a 3/8 hole so I could bolt that on. So then I screwed this into this header board. This is a 2x8 header board, so that comes down to here. I screwed this into the existing header that I had, which is a pair of 2x6s, to space it out to the correct size. Okay, if that makes sense, because I've got metal siding that goes on here. All right, now on this end, the carrier for the door, when it's inside there, it's about 2.5 inches from the bottom of that to the top of the door, and that's judged by just about leaving a little bit of thread from the truck. So what's that's going to do is it's going to allow this door to overlap, keep the elements out. So here I've got a 12-foot opening, okay? And then on the bottom, got that rub board. That board is spaced out. It's got the Denver double angle on it, and that's to deflect water off the top of it. Now on the back of the door, I'm going to have a rub piece of plastic, so it only rubs on the wood and won't abrade on the metal. But what I've done on this end is, a lot of it's because it's a single track and I'm able to have the door higher, is I'm using 12-foot door channels, but I'm going to cheat it up 2 inches on the top, and then on the bottom I'm going to cheat it down 2 inches, or 2.5 inches. So here I've got a door laid out. It's got a 2x6 on the top as a header to carry the door. I've got the trucks all drilled through and installed. And I'm actually going to, I'll be tightening them up probably almost up to the whole thread. Now if you notice, I've cheated 2 inches on the top, and then on the bottom I have a 2x8 that's treated so it can get the weather and not be damaged. And I've cheated that one out 2.5 inches. Now I could have bought the channel to go the whole length, but it comes in like 8, 10, 12, 14 by 2 foot. So I would have had to buy 2 extra feet on each door on this end. So it would have been 8 extra feet, and it's like $5 a foot. So it would have been another $40 for these doors, and I think it'll be fine. Well, here we are, I don't know, a period of time later, and I got my doors pretty well finished up. So they match up pretty well. So what I did was I got my friend up here to hang the frames up. So we took the frame out, which was manageable for 2 old guys, and we just hung them up, got them set up at the end, and then I climbed the ladder and guided it into the track, and then my friend lifted and pushed it, and then the other end. So yeah, we got them both hung. And then after they were hanging, I hung the sheet steel on it. Yeah, so after I hung them, I got them all lined up where I wanted. What I have is that top 2x6 actually overlaps the 2x8 that the rail is mounted to. So there is a little bit of an overlap there. Yeah, there is an overlap right there. I had to play with the hangers because they rotate to move the door in and out. I got the height adjusted where I wanted, and then I got the doors matched up. So you can see I got them matched. Okay, I measured it out, so this part of the door, that actually, now I can put in there, I can put like a weather strip just so it doesn't wear. And it ended up, my measurements came out pretty close. So this side is, yeah, it's in a little bit. So it's about half that angle should be on both sides. And I was a little more careful on this end because this is a side you see from the road. So what I wanted is I wanted the screws holding the wainscoting on and holding the upper metal on. I wanted those screws to all line up. Now these are 2x6s, which is a standard in pole buildings. Doors use 2x4s to make them a little bit lighter. So that is kind of where I measured when it was on the ground. But then I had to get that in the right line. And then I had to move each of these so that the screws would meet those. And again, on this door, I did the same thing. And the screw holding each of these, I just have one screw holding each of these in. It's from the other side. When I hung it up, I put bracing I just put a brace from, how was it? I put a brace this way and then down just to hold it square. And I made sure the brace was up here, so when I put the wainscoting on the bottom, got that all attached and screwed on. That held the door square, and then I removed the upper bracing. And the doors fit really well together. You know, they're all level on the bottom. So then with the doors closed up like this with just framing, what I did is I set up my laser level. I got a reading on the bottom edge, and I put that trim on that same reading with my laser level. And I'll tell you, using a 4-foot level just doesn't do it justice, because if you're off just a hair on the bubble, when you go over 10 or 20 feet, you're off an inch. So the laser level is definitely the way to go. So that worked out pretty nice. So then once I got the wainscoting on, I put this standard double angle on here, and then I hung the metal to the top. Now this I had bought previously, so I actually had to trim all the pieces. I put J-channel on top just for nice appearance. After it was all in place, I put the J-channel up there and put screws in, just to make it look good, because my the cover that's going to go on the track actually does not hang over far enough. It should hang over a little farther to hide the it should be over that J-channel over the top of the door. Just on the other end, it actually works out to be nice length, but this is not. And this is going to be covered all the way 40 feet right there. When I put the metal on, little thing that you can see on this has a lip inside there. It's got a little groove. So if you cut your metal very carefully, you can slide it under that groove. And with steel, you don't quite have the expansion coefficient you would like with vinyl siding. Now, when I did the wainscoting down here, I wasn't that careful, and I just kind of stuck it in. So, you know, it doesn't look bad, and when you're out here, it doesn't look bad. So you can really kind of do it either way. And I'll tell you, some contractors get worried about whether you have a rib in the trim or in the J-channel, like here. And it probably doesn't matter on a pole barn. I'm not sure how it would affect things if you're sealing the inside. Okay, so then let me show you a couple other things I did. So down here, I actually have a rub board that I put on. The rub board sticks out. It sticks out to this distance. You can see it down there. But for the metal, for weather, I used what they call a Denver double angle. That's made to go over 2x material. Your standard double angle is just made to go over the sheet metal. And actually, I've seen some people have a double angle where it fits in your J channel on the ends. It'll go I had to cut and slide this behind the J channel. I had to notch it, if you can see. Okay, but some people's double angle will slide in behind there. You know, because this has, on the ribs, it has some gap. Now on the bottom, that double angle is a Denver double angle. It's made to go over a board, so it's an inch and a half. So because that's a rub board, the door would be rubbing on that trim. So what I did is I had this rubber that I picked up. It was just in a bag from a estate sale. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I had some box of screws that came too. So I just used that rubber and I put it on there. And I put a little piece down there. And that way, when the door is opening and closing, it's going to not hit that metal trim. Other ways to do it. On the other end, I actually put the rubber on the back of the door. Okay, so then you see this roller. The purpose of that roller is so when the door's open, the wind won't be lifting the door away. So yeah, it's got to be open about 8 inches to catch it, but if you have a windy area, you either want your doors pretty much open or pretty much closed. And then down here, this is just a standard door stop. Okay, and that grabs the door, so when it's wide open, it's going to grab the door. I don't have any latching system to hold the door open. It just kind of sits there. But and you can see there's no handles, but you can actually grab it here pretty well. Now if the rib was there, the rib might be in the way, but it works pretty well with no handles. Now something that you may notice, if you like things OCD, I think I got it pretty straight. See how straight that door is on that side? Okay. Each of the ribs in the steel are 9 inches apart. So from this rib to that rib on the door, when the door is closed, I measured that to be 9 inches. And why that's also important is when I fill in over the top, it'll extend this over the top and it'll just be a seamless matching up of the lines. So, you know, in the same way, you know, it's even, you know, you can't hardly see the screws like that. These panels were cut by the supplier, so I had perfect dimensions on these panels. I believe this side is at 50 inches, or 48 inches, I think. But they were pre-cut panels. And then my double angle, and then it goes up to the top. And all the screws, so by moving those boards on the inside, I was able to have the screws on the building line up with the screws. I'm sorry, that's blood from my finger on there, but the screws on the building line up with the screws on the door. And here, and here. So here on this right-hand door, I did the same thing. I put that rubber on the rub board, which I guess is no longer a rub board. I put some down here. And then the stop is there by my pier. Now, you know, if my piers are 10 feet apart and my door is 10 foot, that means it's stopping it short of the length of the door. So yes. Okay, and then I tacked a little piece of rubber on the end of the door right there. At each end of the track, you can see there's a screw in the track. That's a stop, so you can't slide the door off the track. The roller won't come off the track. You have to remove that screw. Now that's going to be covered with the track cover, but that's okay because it'll be a long time before I take these doors down. And of course, you also have the stop here, so it shouldn't get that, and then the door would actually hit that pier. Yeah, so there's some cardboard protector that's on the metal that I get from Everlast Roofing. And again, they're out of Eastern Ohio. And that's pretty much Amish country, I believe. And here I've got my standard door latch. And what I did is I just used a 2x6, put a nice bevel on it. I'll probably go over that with some linseed oil, boiled linseed oil. And it's important that your over center, see how this is angled down? You want this to be angled down also, so your force through here is below the center of your pivot when you mount it, and fairly well below it, because when you get wind shaking things around, it can actually make it pop up. So it's kind of where you want it, and it catches right down on these things and locks it in place. You just want it tight, you don't want to be bending things, but it's holding it pretty well. So I have one of those, one on each end, and then because it's loose in the center, I actually found this heavy wall piece of aluminum tubing, and this is just a standard gate leg. So that's just attached there, and that's why I can't open that door all the way. Now I could have put this on the outside to make it so I can open the door all the way, but it's a 20-foot opening, so if I give up a foot for that, get it down to 19, that's more than I can ever use. And you can see how the channel, this is a female and a male piece, and they fit together nicely. And then to hold the doors, I've got this cincher or pincher or whatever they call it. There you go. It's called a combo center latch. They have one that's got metal, and then they've got the one that I got that has a chain, and it's from Plyco. They make a lot of this stuff. They make the door latches. So according to the instructions, it says the chain type is designed to be used with 2x wooden verticals, and the rod type is designed metal verticals. So I have metal verticals, so I probably should have a rod type. This is going to chew this up over time. I may switch this out, get one, but this is basically how it works. These are angled out. You can see that. And then what you do when you close it is you start out at the top and you push it down with both hands. Now I could have put these a little closer together so they would get, closer to the bottom. And they're just held in with just your GRK wood screws. It's probably the strongest thing I can use. Okay. So that cinches and draws it together tight. Probably the toughest deal with a sliding door is filling in the bottom, keeping airflow from going underneath. And the problem with this building and even a conventional pole building is you'll get condensation. So because this has a metal frame and the fabric, when it's when that's all very cold and you have moisture inside here, like if you have animals in here or even moisture out of the ground, you can see how the ground has moisture over here. There's nothing here. That moisture will cause humidity and it will freeze to the top. It'll happen on a metal roof building too if it's exposed like this. The more humidity you have in here, the more chance you have of condensation, which then when it warms the roof up, it rains. The only way to get away from that is you have two ways. You have provide a barrier here of some sort. On metal roofing, a lot of them put a insulation or they spray foam the bottom to prevent that freezing condensation. The other thing is to control the humidity in the building. Well, if you have a dirt floor, it's hard to do even if you have both ends sealed. So how that relates back to your sliding door is you get air underneath that sliding door and the humidity can come in the room with airflow. So what I'm thinking I'll probably do is put in like a 2x10 all along the back of that, backfill it, fill it on both sides, and make it so it's you can drive over it. Now that involves raising the level of the arena to fill in that gap, which is just fine with me. I have a line on some sand and then fill that in over there. The outside will be stone, and that's always a quandary of a pole building. So what do you do about the ground along that edge? Because it's adjacent to the outside. You're not a heated building, so you still have chance of frost heave coming up against your lower skirting board there. Now these are below the frost line on the bottom, and the edges are smooth, so they won't lift. But yeah, that's the biggest problem. Now obviously the gap at the top, that can be filled with trim, just like a overhead door. You know, you can fill all the gaps on the overhead door with foam and rubber. But that bottom is a problem. And even if you do, I've seen where they have metal channels. If you do the metal channel, you have to keep it clean if you're in an environment like this where it can freeze and fill with snow and rain. So that's always a problem. Heaving ground can cause a problem. But if you have a poured concrete floor, you certainly can have that channel and that shoulder and whatnot. So the sliding door would work out just fine. Now the beauty of having the sliding door is you don't have the overhead. They're a lot cheaper to construct. I mean, the metals, I think it's $287 a linear foot for a 3-foot wide piece. Each stick of your double angle and your base trim and your J channel is about $10. It's about $1 a foot. These are just 2x4s, so it's all pretty cheap. I mean, each one of these would maybe 50 bucks. 50, 60 bucks for the cute things. You can use 2x4s. So it's kind of a wrap up on the door. So you can do your standard double door, or you can do a bypass door. That's your choice. Hopefully this helps some people, and I love giving the details. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, it helps me a lot. That's the way I do it.